Norman, let me begin from you. What are the latest news stories you are watching, you are monitoring from world's capital, the coldest city right this moment, Washington DC?
Good morning from Washington. Today we are waking up um, after hearing a speech from U.S. President Donald Trump last night, praising his efforts, his accomplishments over the last months in terms of bringing United States back, America back again, making them great again. Um, he stated that the economy is doing better than the people are thinking. Things are improving since he took over. More money is coming, and life in the United States is a lot better. This is a sharp contrast to what people are stating who actually live here. He has implemented a Christmas bonus to the military, which is a good thing, giving them some money so they can get through the holidays and thanking them for that service. So right now, according to Mr. Trump, the United States is being very successful with the ceasefire accomplishments. Basically, he's claiming that he has been successful in ending the Gaza conflict and is working on ending the conflict with Russia and Ukraine. And the world is better. In his sense, everything is improving. A complete 360-degree turnaround from the last administration of Joe Biden.
Dr. Nasir says everything based on what Washington demands, what Washington wants, what Washington desires. If it is the bottom line, Sir Norman, the question is, could this blockade be considered as an act of war under international law? Though what Washington wants, this is the bottom line, as Dr. Nasir says. Mr. Norman.
Yes, thanks for the question, and good morning, Dr. Nancy. The United States, as my colleague suggested, uh, has the ability to get its will. And right now, the will is right now is to ensure that the current administration in Venezuela do not succeed. What that means is the United States has claimed that they want to get its oil rights back in Venezuela. They want to control the oil market. So we have a military right now staged in providing a flotilla, which is serving as a blockade to basically getting anything outside of Venezuela. The purpose is to provide a crushing situation for the current administration in Venezuela to not succeed and to basically give up and allow the United States to come back and claim its historical rights to the oils in that area. This is not going well. Like my colleague mentioned, there's other ways of moving resources out to other countries or the land, and it's considered on the international field as a considered as an act of war. So we are now getting into conflict as we continue to seize more tankers coming in and out. The prospect of a conflict increases. Remember, Venezuela has friends in both Russia and China and North Korea. So there will be a what we call a workaround process. This blockade will not be accepted, and we are possibly looking at some conflict in the open seas. And hopefully, it doesn't lead to more problems on the land. But right now, the situation is putting more pressure on Venezuela to make a decision. Are they going to have a military response or a political situation where the current administration leaves?
What is the strength of this Donald Trump's this move? What is the weakness of this move by Donald Trump? What is the opportunities he is looking for, and what is the threats? I have designed a question for very experienced Washington based journalist Norman Flood Barnes. Uh, Based on SOT, what are the likely responses from OPEC states or China to increased US Venezuela tensions? This question is popping up almost everywhere in all medias right this moment. How China reacts, how OPEC countries react. Sir Norman.
Thank you again. The question leads to other questions. How is the world going to readjust to this situation regarding energy, particularly oil? The access to oil. How do we get oil? That's question one. Two, who do we get oils from? Three, will the prices of oil be at a competitive level which we can afford and willing to pay? So right now there's a conversation going on based on how do we get the energy we need, how do we get the oil in light of the conflict that the Western world is imposing on the oil producing country of Venezuela and other things going on in the world. The conflict actually all the global conflicts right now will affect the movement of resources. Energy, oil, gas, everything is being affected by these regional conflicts. So right now the conversation is based on how do we get the energy and the resources we need in spite of the current situation with the West and how the West want to basically control the flow of energy and to control the flow of economic development in the country. So right now, there's a lot of things happening regarding a what we call a workaround in spite of and alternatives. So China, Russia, all the other countries are basically talking to these countries, every country, about how we're going to resolve and move forward.
Norman, you heard that Shamsulam Pantho has raised many indications on world news, breaking stories, trends and patterns. I just want to know from you, Russian President Vladimir Putin warned, very seriously warned Russia may expand territorial gains in Ukraine if peace talks fail. It is a kind of threat to the European leaders amid ongoing hostilities and diplomatic talks involving the US and Europe. But I have received one more comments from Belarus President Yashchenko. He said urge a swift action to end the war while the US remains engaged. The US is warning European partners not to use frozen Russian assets for Ukraine's war effort, highlighting transatlantic disagreements over funding and peace strategies. I am just hopeless to ask you a question. United States, whatever desire, they go for that action. As per Dr. Nasir also said, what Washington desires, that will actually take place. My question is why United States is warning European leaders not to freeze Russian assets? Norman.
Thank you for the question, but the answer lies in the question. Why the United States is urging the EU to relax the sanctions against Russia? My response to that is basically the United States has had conversations with the Russian counterparts on how to end this war. And one of the concessions is basically the issue of sanctions. Part of this plan is to have the United States have influence and impact on the EU about releasing and giving back some of these sanctions that's being imposed by them into the Russians' economy. That is one of the what we call the pieces that is added on to this ceasefire. Is basically is that as we talk about no NATO, ending the war, providing military assistance in Ukraine, and moving forward, the issue of sanctions, freeze frozen assets by Russia is also included in that table. They part of this thing is basically that if we decide to end this conflict, you have to release some of the assets that we have. Russia is saying, so we move forward. So it could be a deal breaker if they do not. And at the same time, we have to look at how this whole scenario is going to fit and going to look like in the future. We may have a conflict that ends on in terms of fighting, but Russia still is putting pressure on the EU through what we call a silent or soft attack, basically to uh, cyber attacks, cutting cables, reducing energy, uh, drones. All these things are still going on and will enhance and will continue as we move forward. Now, this will happen regardless of the outcome of Ukraine, because the ultimate goal is to weaken the EU's stance. Even if they put troops here, the EU will have to focus on their own survival. So that will be a very dynamic process going on. Even though Russia said, okay, we'll allow you to do these things, they're still continuing what they call their war. They have what we call a frozen war, where we will continue to probe to the point where you can't focus on the mission of protecting Ukraine. You have to learn and you have to provide protection for your own homeland. So this is a very dynamic situation development. It's part of Putin's strategy is to keep the pressure on, and we will persist with our attacks until you do what we want you to do.
What are the strategic implications of the US and European countries' disagreements over using frozen Russian assets? Is the implications or indications from Washington, don't do it, I'll do it later?
Thank you. The issue about frozen assets, Russia is a very large country. They have a lot of resources that have been frozen. Their country itself needs money. They need assets. They need resources. That is the biggest issue. Their people are not thriving. They're basically surviving. So the government knows this, and they have a mentality of we're going to be the aggressor. We're going to use our resources, but at the same time, we need to get our assets unfrozen. We need this to survive daily. So you are going to see Russia put more pressure on the EU regarding these frozen assets to release these assets to the point where they'll be pestering backdoor operations that's going to cause the EU countries to basically think twice, make decisions that may be country sensitive. My country is first. I have to think about protecting my country, and it may cause a divide in the EU.
Appreciate you, sir.